Are you struggling to make ends meet and watching your money disappearing before your eyes? If so, here are 17 old-fashioned frugal tips that still work today. Number 17. Cook meals from scratch. If there's one thing that we remember from our grandparents, it's just how good that their cooking was. However, something that many overlook is that it's an extremely effective way to save money. Going out to eat at a restaurant or takeout can cost anywhere from 4 to 10 times more than making that same meal at home. And not to mention that many of those meals often taste better whenever they're made from scratch. So if you're going to be visiting your grandmother anytime soon, be sure to ask her for some of those recipes. Number 16. Learn to DIY. Have you ever wondered why your grandparents seem to be so handy? Well, it's likely that they enjoyed repairing things, but more often than not, it was out of necessity. Learning to DIY is an invaluable skill that seems to disappear more and more with each generation. However, learning to DIY can allow you to save an incredible amount of money. For example, an oil change for your car on average can cost you between $35 to $75. But if you learn to change your own oil, you can usually reduce that cost by about half. And you can learn an awesome skill along the way. Number 15. Grow your own food. One of the oldest human activities that's ever existed is agriculture. In today's world, agriculture is something that's nearly forgotten by the majority of people because it's easy to get access to all sorts of foods these days in grocery stores. However, buying produce weekly can be overly expensive, especially considering that it's ridiculously cheap to grow your own. You may have grandparents who are expert gardeners and will often be found growing their own tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and the like. And by growing these vegetables in their own home, they save on having to buy produce every week due to the fact that they can just harvest it themselves. Not to mention that they get the freshest produce possible. Number 14. Use cloth instead of paper towels. A major expense that gets swept under the rug due to its convenience is paper towels. But in your grandparents' time, they were keener on using cloths to wipe away messes. Using cloth instead of paper towels can be a fantastic way to save both the money and hassle of paper towels. For example, how many paper towels do you think it would take to clean up a spill from a full cup of water? Definitely a lot. But you can clean up that same mess with just a single cloth towel. Also, it's worth mentioning that cloth towels can be washed and reused and are usually good for more than one spill or stain. Number 13. Downsizing your home. It was common back then for people to downsize their homes whenever their kids moved away and they got to a certain age of retirement. But this practice isn't as common anymore due to the fact that it's desirable to own a home and property regardless of your age. However, downsizing is an extremely effective method to help really cut down on housing costs of all sorts, mortgage, utilities, property taxes, and so forth, and make life much more manageable. Number 13. Reuse plastic containers. With the quick hustle and bustle of our generation, it is easy to overlook how many items can come in handy and save us from buying unnecessarily. One of these items are plastic food containers from various foods like yogurt or sour cream. Whenever washed out, these plastic food containers can be reused as storage for both leftovers, screws and nails in your garage, and really anything else you can think of. So instead of buying new Tupperware or plastic containers for storage, just follow the path of your frugal grandparents and take advantage of the resources you have. Number 11. Make your own compost. If you're somebody that aspires to grow your own vegetables, then it's definitely best to make your own compost. An individual household already produces an incredible amount of food waste, and most of that can be easily composted. This old-timey method not only makes even the worst scraps of food useful, but it even provides a free fertilizer for your garden. Also, it can save you a ton of money on garbage disposal if your area requires you to pay for your garbage tags. Number 10. Make your own cleaning products. Have you ever wondered why it sometimes smells funky in your grandparents' homes? Maybe like a little bit of vinegar? Well, it turns out that a great way to save money in the past was to make your own cleaning products. The great thing is that they often work just as good, if not better, than the cleaning products that you can buy in the stores today. With just a quick search in Google, you can find tons of different variations of cleaning products, which can help to keep your home spick and span, all the while saving you money. Number 9. Walk or bike more. If there is something that anyone can start doing to save money, it is walking or biking more. Since many commodities were a lot more scarce in the time of your grandparents, they often either walked or biked their way to various destinations whenever they could. Today, this practice can save you a ton of money by saving on gas and all sorts of vehicle expenses. Plus, it's great for your health and the environment. Number 8. Don't overwash clothes. It's easy to wear a shirt for half a day and consider it dirty, then throw it in the wash. Now, while that may be convenient to wash clothes frequently, it does end up taking a major chunk out of your paycheck. Back in the day, people didn't have the luxury of having a washer and dryer accessible at any given hour, but instead, they used good old-fashioned sniff tests. Essentially, if an item of clothing didn't smell particularly bad, then it was still wearable for the next day. This not only saved money, but also helped the longevity of their clothing. So, if you're someone who tends to wash their clothes frequently, then maybe you should take a second to actually check if they're dirty, both for your clothes and your wallet's sake. Number 7. Air dry your washed clothes and dishes. While we're on the topic of washing clothes, it should be good to mention how your grandparents like to dry their clothes or even their dishes to save money, and why it's a good idea for you to do as well. Considering the efficiency of a dryer, it makes sense to throw your washed clothes in there to save time. However, this is a costly method. Instead, taking the time to air dry your clothes can really save on expensive energy bills and stop that unwanted shrinking that happens to some clothing. Number 6. Make your own cards. It's likely that you've received some lovely handmade cards from your grandparents for special holidays like your birthday. And there's no doubt that it touched your heart a little more than a store-bought card. However, you may have not realized that making cards save your grandparents some extra cash. Learning to make your own cards is a great way to save money while adding some extra sentimental value, making the receiver feel extra loved. Number 5. If it's yellow, keep it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. Yes, this may be a little gross to some of you, but it's one of the best old-fashioned ways to save money. Learning to only flush when you take a number 2 is actually very effective to save on your water bill. If you take a second to count how often you flush every single day and how much water you use to each flush, you'd be surprised at how large a percentage that you take on your water bill. And if you just reduce your flush by 1 time per day, you would significantly reduce your water bill costs and ultimately money. So, the next time you need to go to the restroom, consider waiting to flush until another time. Number 4. Focus on free entertainment. If you're someone who spends a lot of money going out at night, then it would be best to have a good chat with your grandparents about how they kept themselves entertained for free. Your frugal grandparents lived in a time where they learned to entertain themselves with whatever they had. Whether that be playing sports with friends, dancing at home, learning to play instruments, or even creating their own games. These practices can definitely be applied today so as to save money spent on outings while retaining all the fun that outings come with. Number 3. Turn your thermostat down or up. Both heating and air conditioning can really become expensive. The simplicity of just pressing a button up or down to get that perfect condition in your home is all too easy to pass up. Unfortunately, though, it also takes money out of your wallet. Instead, it would be best to follow your grandparents' footsteps and learn to adapt a slightly cooler or warmer temperature. Just taking the thermostat down by 1 degree can make a monumental difference in your energy bill in the long run. Number 2. Use both sides of scrap paper. Are you somebody that uses only one side of a piece of paper to make notes and then recycle it? Unfortunately, your grandparents may not be too pleased with this. While a single piece of paper may seem like an insignificant amount of money, it eventually adds up. And learning to make the most of what you have, in this case scrap paper, will allow you to save a lot of money in the long run. Lastly, number 1, reusing gift wrap. There's no doubt that we all have to buy gifts for somebody a couple times a year, and throughout that time, a lot of gift wrap is used. However, it's often overlooked that gift wrap is an item that can basically be reused again and again and again. During the times your grandparents lived, resources were much more scarce and harder to come by, so they would often try to recycle things themselves, and that did include gift wrap. So, if you're looking to save just a little bit extra money while learning to be resourceful, then reusing gift wrap is an excellent idea.